Haayadda caalamiga ah ee ICRC ayaa walaac xooggan ka muujisay xaaladda isbitaalada Soomaaliya gaar ahaan kuwa ku yaala furimaha dagaal ee colaaduhu ka taagan yihiin kuwaasoo ay xustay inay saameyn xooggan oo caafimaad dhaliyeen colaadaha isa soo taraya ee xuduudaha u badan. Sidoo kale hay'addu waxay walaac ka muujisay xaaladda isbitaalada ku yaala deegaanada gobolka Sool ee Somaliland gaar ahaan degmada Laascaanood oo dhowaan dagaal culus ka dhacay ilaa haddana xaalkiisu deganayn. madaxa xiriirka ee hay'adda ICRC Cabdikariin Maxamed Cabdilaahi ayaa tilmaamay inay jiraan codsiyo isdaba joog oo uga imanaya isbitaalada ay ka jiraan culaysyo caafimaad inkastoo ay caawimaad iyo gargaar u fidiyeen isbitaalada gaadhaya ilaa 20 isbitaal oo u baahnaa caawimaadyo kala duwan oo ay ka mid yihiin dhinacyada daaweynta qaliinada iyo bixinta adeegyada caafimaad ee kale. Cabdikariin Maxamed Cabdilaahi ayaa isdul taagay inay kordhayaan tirada dadyowga ku waxyeeloobay colaadaha iyo dagaalada ka taagan furimaha dagaal iyo kuwa ku barakacay colaadahaas ee u baahan ama tegaya goobaha barakacayaasha ee Soomaaliya gaar ahaan goobta barakaca ee ugu weyn magaalada Muqdisho. Waxaanu intaasi ku daray inay jiraan cabiro muujinaya inay kordhayaan colaadaha ka taagan Soomaaliya hadday noqonayaan kuwa dawladdu kula jirto kooxaha argagixisada ah kuwa maamul goboleedyadu kula jiraan kooxahaasi sida Puntland colaadaha qabaa'ilka dhexdooda ka dhaca iyo dagaalkii Laascaanood ka dhacay oo ku daray kuwa reebay saameynaha ugu ba'an waxyaabaha keenay culayska caafimaad ee jira ee sababay in loo baahdo gurmado caafimaad oo dheeriya ayuu ku tilmaamay Cabdikariin Maxamed. Isbeddelka cimilada dunida ka dhacay gaar ahaan midka geeska oo uu sheegay inuu isaguna door laxaad ka qaatay walaaca ay ka qabaan bixinta adeegyo caafimaad oo isbitaalada laga helo kadib markii ay yaraadeen sida uu sheegay wax soo saarkii cuntooyinka xoolihii Soomaalidu dhaqanaysay qodista beeraha iyo waxyaalaha la halmaala walow hoosta ka xariiqay inaanay weli gaadhin heer sare oo laga deeriyo isbeddelka cimilada.
Thank you for having me. My name is Abdikarim Mohammed. I am the communication coordinator for the International Committee of the Red Cross in Somalia. So given the situation in the country, as the ICRC, we are seeing a lot of pressure on the hospitals, especially the hospitals located in the front lines, due to the increase in hostilities. The fighting is happening across the country. When you look at the south and central part of the country, when you are directed Lower Shabelle, Middle Shabelle, if you look at the center, if you look at the Puntland forces against Islamic State Somalia, and if you look at Somaliland versus SSC Khartoum. So what we see is a lot of the hospitals are requesting for support because they are seeing an increase in the number of wounded that are coming in. So we have so many people who are wounded because of this fighting, and the hospitals are stretched and they need resources, they need medical equipment, they need supplies, they need medication. As the ICRC, if you look at the numbers, we've supported like 20 hospitals that have requested support for medical equipment to conduct these surgeries on patients who come in with weapon wounds. And this is a very high number. If you look at the number we did last year, they were around 30. We are in month 3 of 2025 and we are already supporting more than 20 hospitals. So you can see there's a high number of wounded being reported across the country. Another indicator to show you that the hostilities are having a huge toll on the population is if you look at Medina Hospital, which is one of the hospitals ICRC supports in Somalia, there is an increase in the number of patients who are coming in with weapon wounded. January, February, March, just in the first quarter alone, we see a 26% increase in the number of people who've been treated compared to October, November, December last year. So these two things combined shows you that the hostilities are having effect on the population. Aside from the wounded that are coming into the hospital, we also see huge number of displacements. More than 100,000 people have been displaced because of hostilities. People are forced to flee their homes because of these hostilities. People are streaming into IDP camps. Just yesterday, we were talking about the number of people who are coming into the Mogadishu IDP camps, and that's the city with the largest number of IDP population. This means the situation there is going to be stretched. There are going to be so many needs. People need food, people need water. On top of that, we both know right now there's talk of drought. So Somalia is in a critical point right now. There is a looming drought in the horizon, and there is also a funding issue. Combined, all these elements, it is a very critical point, and it shows that we are at a critical juncture where the situation could deteriorate really quickly and lives are at stake. Let me be clear. The first thing is conflict. Conflict has increased. The hostilities have increased. If you look at it, conflict was the number one driver of displacement last year. Conflict in Somalia, if you examine carefully, conflict is the main thing that is fueling the humanitarian crisis in the country. So, that aside, when you look at how the trend of the conflict is going, it's getting worse. And that is why, as the ICRC, we are sounding the alarm right now. The hostilities have increased. We are seeing them in the south, we are seeing them in the center, we are seeing them in the north, we are seeing them in Somaliland versus SSC. So together, this increase in hostilities of armed violence across the country is the main driver of this humanitarian crisis. This is what is the biggest problem. Okay? So that is the main issue. Like, make no mistake, it's conflict. And then we have climate change, and that is the looming drought that is being forecasted. The effects have not been felt yet, but they are starting. You'll see malnutrition go up. You'll see people lack of food. You'll see people lose their farms. People lose their animals because of the drought. So it's coming. And then we have a country that is already in a humanitarian crisis, and there is a funding shortfall, which means humanitarian organizations are forced to close or they don't have access. So combined, it makes it very, very difficult to get help to the people that need it. And you need to also remember that when we say the conflict has increased, there is an access issue. As the ICRC, we can access some areas, but other humanitarian organizations, they cannot go to places that are in control of armed groups. It becomes tricky to move help from one place to another. So it becomes very, very tricky.
Abdikariin, oo hadalkiisa si wata ayaa xusay inay bixin karaan waqtigana adeeg caafimaad oo dhammaystiran isbitaallo ay u fidiyeen caawimaadyo kala duwan oo ku kala yaala Kismaayo iyo Muqdisho.
So right now, the ICRC, International Committee of the Red Cross, and the Somali Red Crescent are partners, and one of our main flagship programs is our health support. So we support 3 hospitals in Somalia. There is Kaysane General Hospital, there is Kismaayo General Hospital, located in Kismaayo, and then we have 2 in Mogadishu. So there is Medina Hospital, and we have Kaysane Hospital, which is run by the Somali Red Crescent Society, BISHAS. On top of that, we support up to 26 clinics across the country that are run by BISHAS. So the main hospitals provide surgical support. In Kismaayo General Hospital, we have what we call a stabilization center that can also provide specialized care for malnourished children under 5 years old. But when it comes to the clinics that we support, all 26, they offer outpatient therapeutic care, what in the industry we call primary health care. So when people come in, they can get consultations done, and that is also supported. On top of that, we also do first aid with the SRCS. So we train communities in case there's an incident or there's a blast that happens. The first people who are going to respond are the community. So we also train communities on first aid response. And we also have, together with the Somali Red Crescent Society, ambulance centers that respond to emergencies when they happen. And these ones are located in Hamar, Mogadishu, they are located in Galkayo, and they are located in Las Anod. So when you look at health response for the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, and the Red Crescent, Somali Red Crescent, BISHAS, Lanqerta'as and BISHAS, that is the health support that we provide. Concerned, Runti, if you look at the situation, it's getting worse. The number of casualties being reported, the number of hospitals that require support, the timing, the fact that we have a drought coming, the timing in terms of humanitarian funding being a problem, it spells doom for the humanitarian situation in Somalia. And that is our biggest concern, and that's why we released this operational update. There's so much conflict in the country, and this is what we are doing. But at the same time, and this was quoted by our head of delegation, Antoine Grant. It is the responsibility of those involved in the fighting, the parties, the different parties involved in the south, in the north, in Somaliland versus SSC. It's their responsibility to respect international humanitarian law, make sure that civilians are spared from the conflict, making sure that those people under their responsibility or under their territories are supported with humanitarian aid, they can be accessed. There is also that reminder that is important, that needs to be paired with this concern that the ICRC has. So first, we are concerned. Second is to remind all parties of their obligations to international humanitarian law, the law of armed conflict. As the ICRC, this is not something that we only do now. We do it always. We connect and we communicate with all parties to the conflict, all authorities, telling them of who we are, what we do, and remind them of their responsibilities. So we talk with all the leaders, all from clan leaders to trainings that we provide to soldiers in terms of knowing international humanitarian law. So we are in constant engagement. Sometimes the way the ICRC works, you will not see us in the media or in the TV, but we are always having bilateral talks with leaders and members from all sides to remind them of their responsibility when it comes to international humanitarian law, their responsibility in terms of detainees. Like right now, we just completed our work with detention. So we also, Ramadan distribution, we just completed it. And right now we remind the authorities of when they hold prisoners during this conflict, what is expected of them, or how they should conduct themselves. So these are conversations we are having. We don't usually have it in public, but we usually have it in a confidential manner. And the goal here is to remind them of IHL, International Humanitarian Law. And when we see these numbers going up, it tells us there is a problem.
madaxa xiriirka ee hay'adda ICRC Cabdikariin Maxamed Cabdilaahi ayaa ugu dambeyntii xusay inuu rajaynayo in dhowaan iyo mustaqbalka dhow ay fiicnaan doonto xaaladdu isla markaa la heli doono adeegyo caafimaad oo degdeg ah colaaduhuna ay yaraan doonaan.
We hope that the situation is going to be better. We hope that international humanitarian law will be upheld. We hope that civilians will be spared. They will not be caught up in this conflict. We hope that families can stay in touch with each other. We hope that people who are detained because of being in one party or another, if they are caught during the fighting, they are given their rights. There is judicial guarantees. So the first message is spare civilians during this increase of hostilities. And number two is to remind the parties of their responsibilities to international humanitarian law.